Welcome to Storytime with Kim. Today's story reminds us that we shouldn't look down on anyone, no matter the situation we find them in. Sit back and enjoy the story. It was a bright morning when passengers boarded Flight 102, headed to a far-off city. The plane was full, with people chatting and laughing as they settled into their seats. Among them was Mr. Aday, a kind-hearted black man dressed neatly in a crisp white shirt. He greeted everyone with a warm smile. But as soon as the air hostess, Miss Clara, saw him, she frowned. "Why is he sitting in first class?" Mrs. Muse asked. She whispered to another hostess. Little did she know, the flight would soon take a turn she'd never forget. Miss Clara approached Mr. Aday with a sharp tone. "Sir, are you sure you're in the right seat? First class isn't for everyone, you know," she said, crossing her arms. Mr. Aday calmly showed her his ticket. "This is my seat," he said politely, but Clara snatched the ticket and examined it as if she didn't believe him. Passengers around them began to notice her behavior. Whispers filled the air, but Clara didn't care. She was determined to embarrass him. Throughout the flight, Miss Clara made it her mission to make Mr. Aday uncomfortable. She ignored his requests for water, served his food last, and even spilled juice on his table without apologizing. Mr. Aday remained calm, refusing to react to her rudeness. A little girl sitting nearby noticed everything and tugged her mother's sleeve. "Mummy, why is she being mean to him?" the girl asked. Her mother sighed. As Clara continued her behavior, other passengers began to speak up. "Excuse me, why are you treating him this way?" an elderly woman asked. Clara rolled her eyes. "I'm just doing my job," she replied coldly. But the passengers didn't believe her. They could see she was targeting Mr. Aid for no reason. "This isn't right," a young man muttered, shaking his head. Word of Clara's actions reached the captain, who called her to the cockpit. "Clara, I've heard complaints about you," he said sternly. "We don't tolerate discrimination on this airline." Clara shrugged, pretending not to care. "It's nothing, Captain. People are overreacting," she said dismissively. But deep down, she felt uneasy. Despite everything, Mr. Aday remained gracious. He thanked the other hostesses who treated him kindly, and even helped an elderly man adjust his seatbelt. His kind demeanor won the hearts of many passengers. "He's a good man," the elderly woman whispered to her neighbor. "I don't understand why she's being so cruel." Halfway through the flight, the plane hit turbulence. The passengers held their breath as the plane shook violently. Miss Clara, who had been pouring coffee, stumbled and spilled the hot liquid all over her uniform. "Ow!" she cried, glaring at Mr. Aday as if it were his fault. But Mr. Aday immediately handed her a napkin. "Here, this might help," he said kindly. Clara snatched it without saying thank you. The captain's voice crackled over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing some technical issues. Please remain calm and follow instructions." Panic spread through the cabin as the lights flickered. Clara, who had always prided herself on staying composed, began to panic. She fumbled with her seatbelt and forgot the safety protocols. As the plane descended into chaos, Mr. Aid stood up and began helping passengers. He calmed a crying child, reassured an elderly couple, and even helped Clara fasten her seatbelt. "Take deep breaths," he told her. Clara was shocked. Why was he helping her after the way she had treated him? Thanks to the crew's efforts and Mr. Aday's help, the plane made an emergency landing. Passengers cheered and clapped, grateful to be safe. But Clara couldn't meet Mr. Aday's eyes. She felt a pang of guilt as she remembered how she had treated him. As the passengers disembarked, Clara approached Mr. Aday. Her hands trembled as she said, I'm sorry for how I treated you." Mr. Aday smiled gently. "Everyone makes mistakes," he said. "What matters is that we learn from them." The passengers watched in silence, moved by his forgiveness. Unbeknownst to Clara, a passenger had recorded the entire incident. The video showed her rudeness and Mr. Aday's kindness. It quickly went viral, sparking outrage and support for Mr. Aday. "This is unacceptable," one commenter wrote. "We need to hold people accountable." The airline issued a public apology to Mr. Aday and announced that Clara would be suspended. "We do not tolerate discrimination," their statement read. Clara felt humiliated, but knew she had brought it on herself. During her suspension, Clara had time to reflect on her actions. She realized she had judged Mr. Aday unfairly and vowed to change. She began volunteering at a local community center, hoping to make amends. Mr. Adam, meanwhile, continued to spread kindness. He donated to charities and visited schools to teach children about treating everyone with respect. "It's not about what happens to you," he said in a speech. "It's about how you respond." Months later, Clara and Mr. Aid crossed paths at an airport. Clara hesitated, but then walked up to him. "I've been trying to be a better person," she said. Mr. Aid smiled. "I can see that. Keep it up," he replied warmly. Clara's experience taught her the value of kindness and respect. She became one of the airline's most compassionate employees, treating every passenger with care. "I'll never forget the lesson Mr. Aid taught me," she often told her colleagues. Did you enjoy this story? Please share your thoughts in the comment. Don't forget to give us a like, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the notification bell to get notified when the next video is out. Thank you for watching.